What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So I was kind of thinking about Will McDonald. He ended up being a healthy scratch last week, but it got me thinking about the early beginnings of Garrett Wilson's career. Some of the weird usage we've had with some of our younger players that seem like they're already ready to, perform out on the field at an adequate level, right? And, it's different situations. Garrett Wilson was almost guaranteed to be our number one wide receiver since the moment that we drafted him with some of the pieces that were already on the team at that time. With Will McDonald, he's walking into a defensive line room that, is definitely one of the most elite defensive lines in the NFL, right? At any given point in time, we can explode, pick up 5+ sacks in a game, pressure them, all throughout the game. And we don't quite technically have a Micah Parsons, but, we have a Quinnen Williams. We have a Carl Lawson that's out there. We have a Jermaine Johnson. We have a bully in Michael Clemens. We have the elite specialist in right now, which I would argue is our best pass rusher on the edge in Bryce Huff. And then you're looking at Will McDonald. So it's a pretty steep incline in talent, but based on what we saw in the preseason, things looked really good, right? He already has a very effective spin move. He's being able to utilize his bend on the outside and his leverage. I think he could go out there and piece some things together. Now, we did see him start in week 1. He only got 13 reps, and it looks like he only had a tackle to his name in that particular game, but he might have a breakout game here. This is the definitely the breaking point, the early point of the season, where if he gets on the field based on the matchups and based on how I expect this game to go, you could definitely see a breakout game for a guy like Will McDonald, where he picks up multiple sacks and probably earns himself some extra snaps within that game, let alone set himself up for the future as these weeks go on. So, I guess the starting point would be paralleling Garrett Wilson to Will McDonald. You think about week 1, very minimal snaps for both. Garrett Wilson's a more important piece to the offense than Will McDonald is to the defense at this point. But we've seen Garrett Wilson go out there. He got 21 snaps in his first game against the Ravens, which was 49% of the total snaps for that offense. And he walked away with 4 receptions and 52 yards, whereas, as mentioned, Will McDonald had about 13. That was about 19% of our reps for that game. And then he was a healthy scratch in week 2, whereas we saw Garrett Wilson immediately start taking off. Obviously, the Browns game kind of put an early pin in things for Garrett Wilson. I think this game could be that for Will McDonald. So, he is at least handling things very well coming off of his healthy scratch, right? We know that he's a freak athlete coming out of college. He's jumping over cars. He's doing backflips. We've seen the freaky tape that he has. And then, of course, that immediately translating to the NFL level over the course of mini camp, training camp, and then preseason games. But yeah, he took it very well. For what it's worth, Jeff Ulbrich did mention that it wasn't due to a lack of skills, right? There's no reason to force him into the fire and maybe set himself back in certain areas when they can allow, him to take the time to be groomed slowly. From Will McDonald's mouth himself, he said he wasn't really tripping or anything. I was just doing what I was told. I'm going to get my opportunity when the time comes. I don't let things upset me. Things happen, they're meant to happen. So I love it, right? For the most part, it seems like those Cyclone players, especially on the defensive side, they have a different mentality to them, which makes a lot of sense. I can't remember the other rookie's name that was in this draft that was highly thought of, but he technically wasn't even a starter for the entirety of his career, still was an excellent player. So, I think this is the right mentality for him to have. He can go out there, get after it, grind behind the scenes, and then, of course, make those splash plays when it comes to Sundays. And, we're still expected to have a pretty decent amount of primetime games, even if we do get flexed out of a couple spots. But potentially going up 2-0 in the division, putting the Patriots out of the playoff race very early, and having a winning record early in the season, which has been hard to come by. I would expect that everybody is on their A+ game this week. So, Jeff Ulbrich has highlighted that McDonald has been attacking practice, in his own words, the entirety of this week, trying to prove that he definitely wants to go out there he's rapidly developing from what Jeff Ulbrich mentioned. He ended up saying there's some major improvements that you're starting to see in his game. All his intangibles, his freakiness, athleticism, his speed, his bend, all that stuff is starting to come to life as he starts to learn our defense, which is another aspect we forget. It's still only week 2. We still need to see how many roles they plan on playing him in, right? Can he do the left side and the right side? Are they going to use him standing up? Are they going to put his hand in the dirt? Are they going to try to utilize him in some of those 4-eye technique positions closer to the inside spot like we saw during his final year at Iowa? There's a lot of different things he can do. And then, of course, there was still a lot of what we heard consistently from Robert Saleh in the offseason about him still need to refine his game in terms of, attacking lanes, being able to handle the run, kind of getting some more grown man strength about him as he continues to progress through this NFL, weight and conditioning program. So I'm super excited for what this could mean. Now, there are some complications here. Dwayne Brown's injury could potentially call for, somebody jumping up from the practice squad that maybe takes a spot from a guy like Will McDonald. Again, I listed the people in front of him. You'd have to think about who we would potentially make a healthy scratch for a replacement of Will McDonald, and I would probably say you can get away with throwing Michael Clemens on the bench just to get that extra edge player out there. But if I had to throw a prediction out there, I would say maybe he walks away from this with 1.5 sacks, let's say 4 tackles, and I'll say that we see him consistently beat his man on tape, which the Patriots offensive line, by the way, seems like they're dealing with quite a few different issues that are going on and injuries across the offensive line. So having Quinnen, collapse things in the middle. Quinton Jefferson has already jumped out to a very strong start. Obviously, having Al Woods have to take up 2 men at once is a huge plus for anybody on the outside. But let me know what you guys think. If he does get into the game, can this be a breakout game for him, or is this too early in his tenure? Too many other factors like the defensive line depth to really say that. And what would a breakout game actually mean to you? And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.